I love this. So
It's cool, no?
so cool and small.
Yeah. I don't know. All right, great. Let me see. Oh, hello. Can everyone hear me? Is that good? You're good. Does that work? You guys hear me? Yes, sir. Great.
Yep.
Welcome in everybody to the owner spotlight for German Engineered Cigar Company.
Thanks a lot.
This is a real treat for me. I've got to spend time with you on podcast in the past. It's nice to have you here, the looks of the duo. So thank you for joining us. You guys have been able to recite pretty much all this for the past week in the trade show, I guess last week, last week. So some of this might be a little redundant, but I think you guys get to release your passion a little bit more here. And I'm excited to be able to open it up. So I don't know or care how Brandon usually does this, but I'm more willing to let the crowd kind of come into it and ask some questions and all that kind of stuff. So if anyone's got any questions, please raise your hand and we'll stop. And hey, yeah, Terry.
I got a question.
Hey.
So how do you your cigars, the draw on your cigars is like drinking chocolate milk.
Thank you.
How are you accomplishing that?
So before I start, because I'll hand you the microphone, but so everyone else that's on live can hear it.
Okay.
Random question. How do you make your cigars taste like chocolate milk? Is that
How does the draw?
How do you make a draw
as smooth as
drinking chocolate milk?
This is probably our factory that we're working with. I mean, they are pros. We create the blend, we engineer the blend, we create the experience, but we could not do this without working with real professionals. And for example, in Nicaragua, Nicaraguan cigars, Raumzeit and Weltschmerz have been created and made by Victor Calvo. And when we worked with Claudio Scroy on the blend, he recommended Victor because he says he knows how to make cigars. He knows how to roll them, to produce them in a way that exactly what you just described comes out. So yeah, it's with German engineering. You have to work with pros. It doesn't work the other way.
Amen.
That's right. So let's take it back to just to get to know the owners outside of the cigar industry. Maybe you guys can tell us a little bit about what got you to this point in your lives to be prepared for creating such an amazing brand. I'll start with you because he's the talker and I want to make sure you get your words in. So.
Again, what was the question?
So what got you to this point?
Okay.
What was your past life? What do you do now? What was the stuff that made you be able to showcase these in such a pretty way?
Yeah, I worked the last 30 years as a graphic designer, and I always wanted to do one product for my own, because I always did products and logos and so on for somebody else, and sometimes just like I wanted and sometimes not. And I met Oliver once, and that's at the first moment it fits because we have the same thinking about the product, and it turned out to be good.
Yeah, for sure. And how about you?
Started my life my career with 20 years of IBM. Studied computer science, worked with Big Blue, mostly in marketing. I learned a lot about marketing there. Left IBM like 12 years ago, started consultancy for social media. At that time, you had to explain social media to people before you had to explain to them why they should do it with you, so that didn't really work out. So I still work part-time in the IT industry. I work as an IT analyst. I always say to earn the money that I can burn in the cigar industry. And then we met, and we were looking at both with some friends, looking at where can we go into, where can we use our skills and develop something new. And then we looked at the cigar industry. I'm a cigar smoker since 30 years. passionate about cigars. And we found the cigar industry and we said, let's try it. Let's simply try it. And yeah, we still try.
Where did you guys meet, or how did you guys meet?
And that was very traditional. We met in a business club, which is basically, I call it a country club without the golf. Yeah, so it was a traditional business club where people meet people, and then we met and got in talks, and it worked.
That's good. Without the golf, so it's not as boring.
It was a little bit, because when there's a meeting or evening event, everybody is a coach, and everybody wants to tell you how to build your brand
I was.
learn how what is important in life, and they want to coach you. And actually, Oliver was the only one I get to know who isn't.
I tried.
Yeah.
Didn't work.
Well, that's a better story than I thought, because I thought you guys had just been enjoying a bratwurst and then just met in the middle like Lady and the Tramp. That's how it started.
Yep.
That's how every good love story starts, I think.
Yep.
But I think it's great. It's interesting. I thought you guys might have met over cigars in general, but it looks like it just grew into something that is this monster that you guys have created, which is it's just amazing. And what captured our eye when we met them at the trade show, I guess it was, did we meet at TPE originally?
Yes.
Yeah, it was TPE.
Yes.
And so I was walking around with Brandon trying to find new, interesting brands to bring back and share with everyone. And what caught our attention, we met with you first, and you were like, you've got to come back and meet him.
Yeah.
Mainly because you were either tired of talking to us or he had something that he needed to see. But you guys spoke so much about the story behind the cigars. You guys had painted a picture of the experience with the cigar, and you really didn't talk about flavors. You didn't talk about the blends. You also didn't give us a price sheet. Like it didn't seem like I was there to get pitched on something. Maybe now we can get into the cigars themselves and what you guys have made up to this point, and maybe some of those stories. Who wants to take that?
It was funny. The first time we met, I was walking around the trade show trying to get a hold of people and talk to people, and my wife was there, Klaas was there, and after a while came back to the booth, and they both said, okay, there are 4 huge guys from Texas at the booth, but they are very friendly and you have to stay here now. This is how we met. No, what we do is we do things differently, or we want to do things differently. We always say we engineer cigars. And I compare it with Mercedes, BMW, Audi, for example. Technically, they are similar. I don't know if everybody from these companies is here. They'll probably say, no, they aren't. But the technological basis is the same. But the experience is completely different. And this is what the engineering does. It creates a specific experience that you have. So when we develop a blend, we do not start with what kind of wrapper do we want, or what kind of binder, what kind of filler do we want, where should the tobacco come from. We start from a different angle. We develop some experience, some story, and we'll take it from there. And we just had the nice experience with Claudius Groy, our blender, who made both Raumzeit and Weltschmerz. We told him what we want. He was asking, what kind of tobacco do you want? And I said, I don't know. You tell me. Because, let's say, Weltschmerz, for example. Weltschmerz is a cigar, we said it's a cigar for the darker moments in life. Like, you had a absolutely shitty day and the only thing you want is this, and a lot less people in the room. Basically, you all get lost. Yeah, I want to be alone, and I want to look into I want to indulge in my bad mood. Yeah, so we created Weltschmerz, and we told him we need some cigar that understands me in that moment. Weltschmerz it's a very German term. It is you can't really translate it. It is
sorrow for the imperfectness of the world. We have a word for everyone.
Germans have a word for every bad feeling that you can get. A dedicated word. So we said we need a cigar that brings you back home, brings you back to happiness. Yeah, and the aromatic experience of this cigar is back in the rolling hills of home. The oven's still warm, childhood memories in the air, all is well. And now, when you hear this, you probably already have an idea how it might taste. You might think of some wood, yeah, maybe some corn or some grass. You might think of a dusty attic. You might think of spices, and raisins and nuts, stuff you find in Grandma's kitchen. Some leather from the leathery chairs and sofas and things like that. And it gives you an experience. It does not define your flavor that you need to taste. It gives you room for your own interpretation, and it tells you exactly, this cigar understands you. It understands you when you smoke it. And I had the experience, and there is nothing illegal in it. I had the experience, I smoked it and I thought, yeah, this blend understands me, so we took this one. So we come from a very different angle, and this is what makes our brand.
And here, show.
Yeah, and
so for the darker moments in life, we made it glow in the dark.
That's some engineering.
Yeah, that's the point where I tell Oliver why it doesn't have anyone else done it before. Glow in the dark. It's so easy.
You can't say it's easy. It's very difficult engineering.
It's very difficult engineering, and it was easy for the printer in Hamburg, but not for the printer we tried out the last time. So we have to find a new printer right now.
They must have been American.
No, they weren't. They weren't.
Were they French?
No.
Oh, okay.
Say nothing against the French.
They're the nicest people on the planet.
Yeah.
Especially with that cool thing that you got in front of you. Now, that's one story, right? And I know that every one of these have a story. And the way that was described to me was that you're sitting alone in a room after a shitty day, like you said, and you're accompanied by ghosts, but friendly ghosts.
Yeah.
That are there to comfort you,
yeah,
but they are not seen. So it's like you're almost like there with your thoughts and all that. And it was like, it's just a very, very cool way. And you had another one that was, and I don't remember the raceway and everything, but what you're smelling and everything while you're driving your car through the raceway. Which one was that?
That's the RBGN, just shortened for Rauchvergnügen. Maybe you heard the old car commercial from Volkswagen, Fahrvergnügen. Yeah. And does anybody knows what it means? It means pleasure of driving. And Rauchvergnügen means pleasure of smoking. But it's a long German word with an Ü, you can't type on your computer, so we shorten it to RBGN, so you can find us online. And I'm the graphic designer, I do all the designing things, and I try to be as reduced as I could. On the band, the font we use is the same as used on the German Autobahn signs, and the blue band should remind you as a blueprint paper. And yeah, that's what I always tell my students in Hamburg. I teach corporate design, and don't do too much, reduce, and they always say, oh God, again this phrase. But I remember what I told my students, and it's a perfect sample of reduced design, German reduced design.
Yeah.
And we got a little story here. Imagine cursing around famous Nürburgring racetrack on a beautiful Sunday morning in your open race car. And if you know the racetrack Nürburgring, it's a Formula One racetrack. It goes half through the forest, and that could be your flavor expectation for the cigar. Moss and wood and wild herbs and a little pepper and no sweetness in it. And the thing is, in the future we will do all with all our cigars a second ring, because you are in a lounge and the guy telling you about a little bit about the cigar, and you go to your seat and you have no information with you. Maybe it's on the box, but now you have time to smoke. But you don't have the information. But now you have. It's on the band. You can take it. On the outside, there's this little story from the race car. It's RBGN. And on the other side, you have all the information: who has done the cigar with us together, what's the wrapper, the filler, and the binder. And you can go to our website and scan the code and even hear what kind of music we like to hear when we smoke the cigar. And we got news, science, and cigar news. So if you want, you can have a little world around the cigar during your smoke.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that you guys put the music on there. What are you guys listening to? Like hard rock, metal, something gnarly?
Definitely not Cuban music.
Okay.
But
We're not allowed.
sometimes Kraftwerk.
I could see you getting down on some Cuban music and out here dancing and salsing around and everything.
Yeah, but not with cigars. No, it's basically we try to be different, and we try to give you a different music style. It's just the stuff that we like to listen to. It's modern music, and we are working on it to get, let's say, a music. It's a Spotify track list, and we are working on it to get a music track list for every blend. So for Rauchvergnügen, you'll probably have different music than for Weltschmerz, because you probably don't. If anybody of you know Yellow, the techno band, the Race is perfect for Rauchvergnügen if you play it not too loud, but not for Weltschmerz. So we've got other stuff there.
Very cool. Is the one we went to dinner last night and we had a little bit too much wine, and we talked naturally as you do.
That's an oxymoron. Too much wine.
Yeah, I guess it depends on who you're offending. It might be too much for someone else, but we were fine. We didn't get kicked out. We were good. But you were mentioning that there was a marching techno band.
Yes.
And you got to be part of that. Is it on here?
Not yet. I show it later on my phone.
Okay. We'll get down. It'll be a First Friday techno version.
But that's a good example, because it's called Meute. It's like a horde of animals. Mm-hmm. And Meute is a marching band doing techno on festivals, and they also stay on the stage. But the best thing is they are a marching band, and on festivals they go around playing their music. They come into the crowd, sitting down, and everybody has to sit down, and they do the slower parts, and then they jump up with their instruments, and everybody is dancing around them. And this is like our cigars, a completely new thing. It's a traditional, the cigar itself is traditional, but the brand is something very new, and it's like this band. Mm-hmm. They are have the instruments. They are traditional, but they do a new thing.
So yeah, you brought it back to cigars somehow. That was really good. That was really good. So one more. So we have the Ramsay. Maybe you can tell us a little bit of the story behind that as well.
Yeah, Ramsay was our second blend. Rauchvergnügen, as much as I love it, it does not have sugar in it, or no sugary elements. Maybe some cherries or something like that, but no real sugary elements. And we said, okay, we need something for this. We need something for the sweet tooth. So we created Ramsay, a Connecticut shade blend, And there again, it's a light to medium bodied smoke. And I just tell you the story, the aromatic experience, and I want you to imagine that and think about what kind of aromas you can expect. And this is, you are in a spaceship at light speed, far beyond the next galaxy, and your android serves cake. So you probably already have an idea. When you take it out of the cellophane, the wrapper smells like honey. And this is how it begins. And it's a fantastic cigar. I love it. And it's a light to medium cigar. It goes fantastic with some coffee or something like that. And I don't know if you know this. We are very good with cake in Germany. Yeah. My favorite is Schwarzwälder Kirsch, Black Forest Cherry.
Yes.
There you go.
But he told that story to us, and that's another one of those examples of just amazing storytelling that gets you immersed in the experience of the cigar itself. But how you described it back then was a little where you meet your friendly android and he serves cake, but it's cake, it's a spice cake, but not flavors and spices that you get from this world. So because you have traveled across the world, you have unique, different stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's what.
If you're good, you taste the stardust. And
See?
again, nothing illegal in these cigars. I'm sorry.
Well, maybe, one day. Yeah.
And why I tell this little stories? Because everyone else, we also, on the back side, tell what's inside, what kind of tobacco we use, the wrapper, the filler, the binder. But nearly nobody, when you tell them what's inside the cigar, it's like a recipe for a cake. It's butter and milk and so on. And nobody says, I know how it tastes. Because you have to be a real pro if you can do this. And so the little stories tells more about the cigars than just what's inside.
And that's an amazing example. We got to sit with Panda in the house back there. He got to sit with us last night. It's cool to see people that are in this world that are past our world and get to be in the blending process a little bit more in depth. And as you said, it's not that peanut butter and jelly tastes like peanut butter jelly. It doesn't matter if I put the peanut butter down first or put the jelly down first.
Yeah.
It tastes the same. But when you do a cigar and you're layering the tobacco, if you do one on the opposite side or you change it around or you shift it, it takes the cigar and changes it completely. So for me, I'd just be slapping things together and be like, yeah, that tastes good. I guess it'd be all right. Probably just try to trick myself into thinking I made a good cigar. But you guys do it with purpose and intent, and you have a goal in mind for what you want that experience to be. And I've heard that from Panda now a couple times in a row where we sat there and talked about it and how important that is. And he makes an amazing cigar, by the way, which you guys will have access to it very soon. But nonetheless, it's not just putting and slapping ingredients together. You are making art, and these things have turned into something quite amazing. And so we're appreciative of it for sure. It's one of my go-to cigars. And I probably smoke way too much of them and margins, but I think we'll be all right. But
we want us to raise the prices all over the places.
Raise them. They're the paying for them. No. But
I don't mind.
We do have one cigar that we are releasing today. Maybe you can talk a little bit about it. The Panatella.
Right.
And maybe tell us why and what they should be expecting from that cigar.
You should just be expecting an engineered cigar experience. Very simple. We've been in the market since 2018, and we started with the classic way. We have Robustos with 54 ring gauge. We have a Gran Toro with a 58 ring gauge, and we had the half Corona. Because half Corona is, I very often do not really have time for a cigar, but I want to have a cigar like half an hour, 45 minutes, just a break from the daily life. And I don't know about you, probably you here in the room, you are well trained by these guys. And many of you probably also love Lanceros, the smaller ring gauges. And this is what I love, what Klaas likes. And so we think about what can we do, because Lanceros, not everybody loves them, not everybody likes them, and we are too small a brand to do so many vitolas. So we said, let's go and create a cigar for half an hour, 45 minutes, depending how fast you smoke, and in the next meeting, and yeah, make it special. And we said, okay, what is the special format? The special format for me is the Panatella. It's this format. It's a 5x37, 5x38. It's a beautiful format because it gives you all the flavor, also all the flavor of the wrapper and the binder, not just filler. It's not short. It's elegant. And it's very easy to smoke. And then there is a story behind this Weltschmerz Panatella. It's an accident. We said, when we developed them, we said, okay, we make a Panatella for home side and we make a Panatella for RVGN. Put the whiskey away. But Weltschmerz is a cigar for the darker moment, and normally the dark moment is probably lasts longer than just 30 minutes. So we went to the factory, we told them, please create those Panatellas with a small pigtail at the end. We'd like to try them. And came to the factory and they said, here are the cigars and here are the Panatellas. And I said, yeah, that's great, but it's the wrong blend. They created a Panatella out of the Maduro blend, the Weltschmerz, not the Raumzeit. And they said, oh, sorry, we can fix that and we're going to produce them immediately. I said, okay, give them to me. I want to try them. Yeah. So I tried them. And Claudio was there as well, our blender, and I gave him a few, and he said, yeah, I can try them. Next day, he came to me and said, do you have more? I said, why? I could smoke 10 of these a day. And I said, yeah, so do I. Done deal, we're going to produce it. Yeah. So this is, if you smoke the Weltschmerz Panatella one day or maybe 2 days, yeah, remember, there are good things when you make, might be good things coming out when you make errors. So this is the story behind this, and we like these formats, and we think we created a box for that. It's a 5-count box, 5 Panatellas in there. Open it like these.
And Weltschmerz is a very German word. There isn't a translation for. It's sorrow for the imperfectness of the world. And maybe it fits very good with our little accident.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a coincidence, that was an accident. one twin always is.
Yeah.
And another proof
Yeah.
something good comes out of it.
See? Yeah. Whatever. They kept me. That's all right.
Yeah. So what we do is, it's a wonderful short smoke. You can half the pack, it will probably have a Bovida in it, so you can throw it into your, maybe not with this weather, but you can throw it into the, have it into your car. You can throw it into your golf bag or wherever you want to go. And for us, it's the perfect balance between a short smoke, an elegant smoke, and a very flavorous smoke, very flavorous experience. This is why we choose for this format. And this, you're the first to see these. We don't even have announced them on Instagram yet. I haven't sent out the press release. You are the first to see these cigars. And we are very proud to do this here, because these guys here at Industrial, they helped us so much. They gave us so much feedback, positive, helps, tips, tricks. Talk to these guys, talk to these guys. Do this with your cigars. Change this a little bit because you can sell it better then. why don't you do something smaller like Lanceros? So we do Lanceros, partly as limited editions. And we are very proud to do this here. We're very proud to announce it here. And we are very happy if you smoke them and if you like them. If you don't, just don't tell us.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be any problem with that. Oh, that's great. So those are the other sizes, obviously.
And these, and these, what you smoke here, are production prototypes. So yeah, the veg mat band doesn't glow that much. We got them as production prototypes, as samples, and we said, okay, when we announce them here, we bring them here, and we want you to smoke them. We kept a few for ourselves, photos, etc. But the stuff here is prototype. And this is also something probably very few people in the industry make or do. And I mean, this is the perfect place to do it.
So these aren't full production yet. How many do we have in stock?
40 to start.
40 to start. And so to get these tonight, if you buy $50, then you get one of these for free. If you buy 10 cigars, German engineered cigars, then you get a free Panatella and a shirt. The shirt sizes are limited. I don't know what sizes that we have, but nonetheless, limited sizes and quantities on that as well. So that's something that's being offered tonight, and I think people should get on it because we don't have a lot of them.
Yep.
And remember, it's a little bit over-engineered, but in a good way.
Yeah, that's great. Now we've kind of gone through the line a little bit and talked about the engineering, both psychologically of the experience, the actual blend itself. Can you explain what this is? This crazy looking thing in front of us is so cool.
Yes.
Enough said.
Well, Germans.
So who thought of this and who came up with the design for it?
I think it was my idea.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, especially after we knew how much this cost. It was certainly my idea.
Your little hobby.
My little hobby. A friend of mine, he does industrial 3D printing, and we came together and I said, I'd like to have a 3D printed ashtray. And he's like, I don't do cigars. I don't even smoke cigars. I said, I don't care. Just think about it, how we can do this. And what we did is we created this 3D printed ashtray. It is aluminum, and the printing with metal 3D printing is you have a very thin layer of metal powder, then you melt it with a laser at the points where you want to have the structure, then the next layer comes, again you melt it, the next layer comes, again you melt it, etc., 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 until you have the product. This ashtray is an extremely delicate piece of engineering. It really is. It has 2,100 layers. It prints 8 hours, and that's the bad thing about it, because what you pay is the time for the printing. So it's horribly expensive to produce, and the structure resembles the structure of a tobacco leaf. And you might see this, maybe not see this from the back, but you could look at it later. The tiny little elements in between the larger structural pieces. The larger structural pieces make this very, very tough, and make this very, yeah, you cannot bend this, for example, and the tiny elements give it a structure without adding weight. And this ashtray, it has 42,000 of these tiny little elements. This is why we call it 42K. It's a prototype, again. We want to show what's possible. One day we hope to sell it, or to sell more of these. Anybody who has around $20,000 in their pockets, please come forward so we can talk. Anybody who not has, or has maybe 40 bucks in their pockets, we have these. This is a filament, so basically it's a plastic. It's not a metal print. But this tiny little thing weighs next to nothing. It is a cigar stand. It holds a cigar like this, looking beautiful. And it also holds 1 kilogram or 2 pints of water. And I think this is just a fantastic way to show engineering, what's possible today, for a more or less practical use in the cigar world. And because we did this, then the next project, and this is also something that you are not the first to see because we showed it at PCA, but it's also not announced yet, we're going to do it soon, is one of the, this is why I say the French are really great, they make really great knives. The Germans do, but the French are a little more successful in the cigar industry with it. And we created this knife together with Les Fines Lames, and it has a 3D printed handle. It's a great feeling. It's very lightweight. It's basically only the weight of the steel of the knife. And these are the things that we do where we want to bring in some technology into this very traditional world and show what's possible, and also show what's feasible and what's, where we say, everybody can use it, except for the ashtray.
Yeah, it's hard to sit up here with the ashtray and not actually use it because he seems like a nice guy, but he'll kick my ass. Yeah. So, thank you.
We both would.
Yeah, you'll try. I know he will, but
I'm just a security guy.
Yeah, just a security guy. That's right. But this is just a perfect example of trying to change the industry, and I've talked about that for a while with membership and how all of our members are very important in helping us change the industry.
Yeah.
And our culture here is so important, but we do it different than everyone else so that we can help make our dent here. And you guys are doing it as far as manufacturing goes with not just cigars and how the stories are supposed to be done and how you're blending with intent instead of making cigars on a timeline. You guys are doing it the right way, and I'm grateful for that. All of us are grateful for that, and I think that's why we see so well eye to eye with everything, because your way of thinking is forward thinking, which is not like the rest of the industry.
Thank you. There are a lot of people in the industry who are really innovative in different ways, in very different ways. I've seen lots of people creating great blends with new means, lots of people trying to get in new thinking into the industry. So as a whole, the cigar industry is probably not very innovative because it is a very traditional product, and you can't do anything really technical to improve a hand-rolled long filler cigar, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But what you can do is you might want to introduce new technologies into developing the cigars and maybe into selling them or into giving you additional experiences. And this is what we have started to work with. As I said, I'm originally from IT, so we've started to develop new blends now, and we start to use ChatGPT, we start to use AI to help us, to support us in developing new blends. It's also a new way of doing this. It's a fantastic experience for ourselves to see what comes out, whether it makes sense or not. But the first steps we did, it really made sense. And it's great fun to see developing this and really then to talk with the blender, show what comes out, what our requirements are, and I can't wait for the blends to come out because they already sound interesting. So I hope we'll be coming up with new stuff very soon. Until then, just smoke what we have.
And only German engineer.
Yeah.
You had a question back there. The man with the afro. Can you speak up a little bit?
Oh, of course, I sure can. So I'm curious to hear you guys discuss the methodology or the mindset behind the autonom.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious to hear it direct from your mouth. Why you take that approach in releasing a line in that way?
So that's a good point. I always have to tell people that the autonom is a different breed. But the question would be, what is autonom, and what is it that you guys are using that platform for?
Autonom is a little bit our playground. Every time we produce cigars, we do limited editions of different formats for ourselves and for a tryout. And if you see, this is also, no, just a moment.
That's mine in it.
This is autonom. Yeah, it's very, very light. It's also glowing in the dark because it's the same blend as this one. So we have autonom formats for every blend we do, for the round side, for the RBGN, and for the Weltschmerz.
Yeah, the idea is really to have a playground. We are not big enough to produce, as I said, lots and lots of formats. So we produce limited editions where we think they might be good, might be a good format that goes with this blend, and we try them out. And some of them, for example, we started to produce Lanceros for autonom, and basically the Panatellas are the outcome of that, because we said, yeah, the Lanceros are great, but they sell not too well for us in quantities. So we produce something similar, but which might sell better. So this is autonom. It's a playground. It's a fun thing to do, and it shows a little bit our passion also for cigars, because we don't want just to produce cigars and go out and sell them. No, we are passionate smokers ourselves. We love certain stuff, and we say, okay, we produce 1,000 Lanceros. Actually, we produce 1,100, but you only get to see 1,000 because the rest 100 are for us. So when they are gone, and when ours are gone, we are going to produce more.
Yes.
And we did the lineup thing, maybe you heard about it last year, and we produced the Robusto of Weltschmerz first, and then we asked you to vote for the second format.
Right.
And there in the lineup package there were 3 formats, and you could try it and voted for your best format, and that is now the second format we do. And I don't think there are many people in the cigar business doing this. Ask the community what format they like and then produce it. Normally it's just, here's the new cigar and smoke.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like Joe Dirt, Snakes and Sparklers. People are just selling whatever they want to, but I think it's great that you guys actually ask us what we want to smoke and almost gamify it. Makes it fun, makes you actually think about what you're smoking as well.
Yeah.
But on the other side, it's one of those cigars that you don't have to sit there and think about either, because the flavors are forefront. They're not bold and crazy intense that like take away your attention. But I could sit here and be doing work, and the sensory aspect, the sensory smoker, which is, you know, a huge percentage of the population, 90-something% of the population, don't really know what they're tasting. And you guys have created something that I can smoke without having to think about it and still get the flavor and don't have the bad effects of it. And especially with the Connecticut or lighter cigar, it's just you don't get the bitterness on the tail end of it. You don't get the bad experiences you get with some of these other blends, and it's shown that the engineering is really working. So
There's a question over there.
yeah.
So you said you smoked for 30 years. What did you like to smoke before you started making your own?
I don't have a specific brand that I go to. I have a few brands that I go to because I like them. Being German, my cigar smoking grew up with a lot of Cuban cigars. Cuban cigars have become very expensive in the past year, and also the availability is not very good in Germany. So, but I'm always open, and I have at home, I have a humidor full of cigars from different brands. Normally when I go into a lounge like these, I tend to buy 2 or 3 cigars of each blend or each producer that I think is interesting, and I try them. And to some I stick, to some I don't. I think it is very important to stay open, to try as many as you can. Always smoke 2 cigars at least from one, because if the first cigar doesn't work, give it a second chance. Yeah, because you might be in an environment that is not good for cigars, you might be in a hurry, you might have a drink that does not suit the cigar or fit well with the cigar. Always give it a second chance. But I even sometimes give it a third chance. But if it's not mine, then it's not mine, and that's fine. Yeah? But I would not have a brand where I say this is where I always go to, except for my own. But even there, I'm open. I want to smoke a lot of stuff. I want to smoke different cigars. Yeah. And what I love when I come here to this humidor is the wealth of smaller boutique brands. And this is also something important for me. Yeah, there are the big guys in the industries and they make fantastic cigars, but there are also the small guys in the industries and they also make fantastic cigars with a lot of heart and a lot of work and really passion in it, and you can smoke that. So whenever you find a small brand you don't know, ask the owner, ask the team who helps you at the store, get 2 or 3, try them, and go into boutique, because it helps us all. It helps us as boutique cigar brand, and it helps the other boutique cigar brands as well. They are not competition for us, they are friends. And this is also something that we both learn in the cigar industry. It's completely different. In the IT industry, you are competition. In the cigar industry, the boutique brands are friends. Because if you like my cigar, then you'll probably also like another boutique cigar, because you're open to boutique, to the smaller brands. And this is what we want you to do. We want you to be open to smaller brands, bring in more people who smoke cigars, and widen our base, all our base. It's a fantastic thing to sit down and smoke a cigar, and if it's a good cigar, it's even better. So this is the way I smoke cigars.
I find myself doing the same thing, but when we were talking last night, we were starting to talk about the bigger name brands, and there's some really, really good bigger name brands that can manufacture stuff at large quantities, but you look at some of these brands and you look at how there may have been value a while ago, but when it's over time, the cigars are making millions and millions of cigars a year, and they're inflating by 1 to 6% a year, but their cigars aren't getting 1 to 6% better every year. If anything, they might be going the opposite way because they can't get the same tobacco that they have. So that's why I like the boutique lines. It's just you can have a little bit more. You have an easier lifeline straight to where it comes from than all the layers of stuff that go into the bigger manufacturers. So I taste the difference personally. I still feel the passion from the small boutique brands, but it's very rare that you see it from the big guys. So it's obviously shows here. Panda cigar. I mean, he didn't shut up about it since he got back from the trade show. But I get it now because I finally got one after asking for 6 weeks for one. But thanks, appreciate it. It was good. But no, it's and again, I urge everyone to try everything once. There's not a lot. I mean, there's some bad cigars. They haven't been in our humidor because you guys all know with our tasting panel we go through it. And sorry for some of the people that have had to witness it, but there's really, it's all subjective. It's all art. It's a grown product, so sometimes there's just little errors in it. It happens. So I think that giving it a chance and not, even though you don't like it, not declaring it as a bad cigar because you don't like it. I think you try to pick out the good things and be optimistic of it.
There can be errors and flaws in it, and I think we have to be clear about it. There are also cigars in the market. They may taste good, but they are not well constructed. They don't draw, or they just get squishy or something like that. And I don't like that. What I want from a cigar, first of all, I don't want to be distracted by a bad construction. Yeah. I don't want to have anything standing between me and the flavor experience, the aromatic experience of the cigar. And for me, this is as important as a good flavor experience. You can have a fantastic tobacco, but if it's not rolled well, it's not a good experience. Yeah, like having a car with 500 horsepowers, but it doesn't have any traction on the road. So, what worth is 500 horsepowers? Yeah, and I think this is also very important for you to judge and to give feedback to them so they can give it to us. This cigar is great, but the construction is not good, so we can work on it. Yeah. We smoke a lot of these. We look after construction, but it is not easy. Yeah.
Are there any particular regions within specific countries that are the source for your tobacco that you focus on more? Are there specific farmers that you prefer to work with?
No, it's actually it's actually the opposite. It's a fantastic question. The question was, are there specific regions that we focus on when to take our tobacco from? And we don't. What we have to say is, these three blends that we have, they are not equal. They are not similar. Like, you sometimes have cigars or large cigar brands where you say, okay, they follow a specific aromatic pattern because they grow the tobacco themselves, so they use the stuff mostly that they grow. So they have a specific aromatic pattern. For me, it's a good solution because it's a very good fallback position, and it shows me if I like one of their blends, then I probably like the others. On the other way around, if I don't get along with one of their blends, it might be difficult for me to get along with the others. These are completely different. So we develop each and every cigar from scratch for a specific experience, but I don't care where the tobacco comes from. So my answer would probably be Middle America, except Cuba. Natural. But if the tobacco comes from Cameroon or from other places where they grow good tobacco, or Peru, then I'd happily take it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that having tasted a lot of tobaccos and being able to try them from different regions, and just by the individual leaf, being able to taste the difference is substantially different. And we had a wine last night that was literally one valley in California called the Anderson Valley, and then you have the Russian River Valley right next to each other, and they tasted totally different. Same grape, same everything. Same thing happens in the tobacco industry. So, and for me, like, I can taste someone that gets a house stick done or something along those lines, and it's like when you smoke, you're like, oh, so you went with AJ Fernandez. Just taste it. It tastes like an AJ Fernandez.
Yeah.
It's very rare that you'll get these big guys that go through the same fermentation process and they're working on that same pattern. But after going to Tarapoto in Peru, which is where all the Peruvian tobacco is grown, they do 3 different processes depending on what type of tobacco that they're growing, and they create the diversity on that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So you're talking about priding yourself on engineering, highly engineered. Your cigars have a specific cut that maximizes the experience?
That's an interesting question, really. It's a very good one. The question was whether we prefer a specific cut to maximize the experience. I think cut is a very personal thing. You have your own preferences. I prefer a straight cut because, especially when I smoke the cigar, I want this part rather open so it doesn't stuck, especially when you smoke smaller ring gauges. Then I personally think it's straight cut that I go for. I tried V-cut, and the thing about V-cut for me is that I can do a second cut. If the end stucks for some reason, if it's a very strong cigar, so you have it maybe all soggy down here, or it doesn't draw very well, then I sometimes do a second cut. I can't do this with a V-cut. This is why I refrain from that. But again, it's personal, and it depends on what you smoke. And you might, for yourself, find out that this cigar works better with a V-cut, and this cigar works better with a straight cut or with a punch. Just try it out.
Go ahead.
Are your cigars hand rolled or machine?
Every single one of them are hand rolled.
Yes,
Yep.
hand-rolled long filler. We don't do anything else than hand-rolled long fillers. That's for me. This is we don't do anything else than hand-rolled long fillers. For me, it's a sign of quality.
Kind of goes back to, like, now cars are all made by machines. We were talking about that yesterday. And just when you close a door on, like the car I was talking about yesterday, Mercedes 300 SEL.
Yes.
You know, it's just, you close that. That was the old Craftsman. They made those by hand.
Yeah.
And that was like the last year of it. But when you close the door, you hear it. It sounds
Yes.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you say the cigar culture differs from the United States to Germany?
That's a good question. Maybe you got
Stuff too
that.
much.
It's very different. The average smoker in Germany is, I think 10 to 12 years older than here,
Yeah.
and there's a great barrier because all the German smokers just like Cuban cigars, because it's the same thing with red wine. Bordeaux from France is good, and so you always drink a Bordeaux. You can't do anything wrong. You can, but you think you can't. And I think it's mostly the same in Germany. They are very much into the Cubans. That's when I started smoking. I stopped after a while because every time I get a Cuban cigar, it is strong for me. I'm more the lighter smoker, and I didn't like it, and so I thought cigars are nothing for me.
Yes, there's another point to it. You will not find many boutique cigars in Germany, and that's the reason is the taxes that we have and the pricing that we have. When I import a box of cigars into Germany, I tell our German tax departments how much the cigar will cost, the single stick and the box, which is basically 20 count box costs as much as 20 single sticks. And I get a small tax stamp, put it on the box that is to be put like it is has to be destroyed when you open the box. But it shows exactly the price for a single cigar and the full box. And the retailer, we do not have the taxes that you have here on a local state base, but it's a federal tax. And the retailer has to sell it for that price that's on the box. They're not allowed to discount it. If they have a Cuban cigar they had aged in their humidor for 2 years, they have to sell it for the price that's on the box. So if the small German engineered boutique cigar brand doesn't work for their clients, they can't sell them off. They can't discount them and say, okay, it was a good idea, but let's get rid of them. Also, it's the same price if you buy online or at the brick and mortar store. And this means that the German cigar smoker, they're like Cubans now. Many of them are going into Nicaraguan cigars, also some Dominican cigars. I think Nicaragua is also very strong because the affinity, the aromatic affinity to Cuba. But it's for a small brand, it's not easy to get into the market. And so this changes the market. And again, they're all a little older than here. Here, I think cigar smoking is something that is more part of society. I think there are lots of weddings and fishing outings that you do where you just take a box of cigars. Not everybody will smoke them, but those who will, they will enjoy it, etc. When you do a wedding and in Germany and you have a cigar buffet like that on the side, probably people will look at you. You smoke cigars? Could you do this outside, please? Yeah. So it's not something natural that you have here. It's still something very special in Germany.
Didn't realize that. How about you?
Would y'all rather create a collection of more eclectic cigars so everyone can find at least one that they really enjoy, or try to shoot for more of like a pinnacle, all-inclusive one cigar type that everyone can enjoy?
So would you like to have more diversity to give your customers more options, or create just a bad mamma jamma? That's English. That's American for amazing cigar.
We'd like to create as many variations and formats and blends as we could to give to please a very diverse audience. And by diverse, I mean palate diverse and format diverse and ideas what a cigar should give me diverse. But as a small brand, we can only do so much. because we need to produce it, we need to sell it, and we cannot swamp the market with our ideas. We've got lots of ideas.
Yes.
Already for new brands. We were already joking, someday we'll not be the Drew Estates of the world, but we'll have like 10, 15 small brands, and you don't even know that we own them. Yeah, that's a different way to get into the market, but it grows very slowly. This is something I learned. The IT industry would never accept the time that we need to develop a new blend, to bring it to the market, to produce it. But the cigar industry is just slower, it's different, and it grows slower, and also innovations, they need time to be accepted. So yeah, we are looking into it. We want to expand. We are looking at new blends that we want to do. We are looking at our limited editions to bring in some kind of new stuff, new diversity, covering different groups of you, covering your preferences. We try to do our best, but sometimes it's just very slow.
So between you two, you're obviously the marketing guy, but you don't do all the blends. You guys both work on the blends.
It's more his part. It's more his part.
So do you both spend time in Nicaragua, Dominican, wherever your cigars are made? Do you both spend time there, or are you the only one that's going to do the blending?
Until now, I was the one to go there.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is going to change. This has to change. Because we are at a point where we get out of this, we are a small boutique brand. We are growing. We just signed distribution contracts for India, for the Middle East, for Canada. We will be in Switzerland, we will be in Italy. So our small brand is growing, and maybe one day I hope I can leave the IT industry behind me completely and earn money in the tobacco industry. Everybody's telling me that's an impossible task, but I'll try, or we try.
Yes.
And so it's, and we don't do blends that we both don't like, where we both say this is nothing for me. Because you can't sit here and say this is nothing for me. I take the other one. Yeah. So it has to be, but we are also not bound to specific aromatic characteristics. We are bound to quality and complexity, and this is what we share. So it's a joint effort.
As well it should be, but I couldn't imagine if you guys did this full time how massive it would be. In honesty, this is what you guys do and also have a day job. This is amazing. So I can't wait for that. I mean, I want you guys to be as rich as possible and make as much money in the tobacco industry.
No.
And I'm sure you're saving a lot of people's lives in the IT industry and everything, but I think I'm selfish, so quit your job and start doing this full time. So we can start having more stuff.
My wife's going to kill me.
That's all right. But last time you were here, you had told me about a certain way that you like to smoke cigars involving water. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah. There was something I once tried, and that interestingly worked very well. Especially like when you're in a dry climate or in a warm climate, and when you have an old and aged cigar. What I did is I took the cigar and held it for like a few seconds under running tap water. Not that it soaks and falls apart, but that just the wrapper gets moist, gets some moisture into it. And then I cut it and lit it. And that was a completely different cigar experience. That was a completely different aromatic experience because you changed the wrapper, and the wrapper is the part of the cigar that has a lot of taste and that gives you a lot of flavor and a lot of flavor direction into the cigar. And that was an interesting experience. And I keep trying it. You have to be quick, taking out of the tap water and then cut it quickly, because it very quickly gets soggy and then you're lost. And you're not allowed to cut it before that, because otherwise the water will run into it and it won't burn. But this, you might try this. maybe not try this with your most expensive cigars in the first place. But you should try it with a blend that you are experienced with, that you know, so that you see or feel the difference that it makes. It's a cooler smoke, actually. It also cools down the smoke a little bit while in the cigar. It's very interesting. I like these experiments. We also like the experience with experiments with infusing cigars with like whiskey or anything else. Yeah, I'm experimenting with it. I don't know whether we ever do this as part of our lines, but we might come up with something that says, okay, take this cigar, infuse it, and we show you how, infuse it with this and this spirit, and it works perfectly well. We might come up with something like that too.
Maybe do some bourbon, since you happen to enjoy it from now and again.
Yeah, bourbon is perfect for cigars. I like whiskey with cigars. I like Scotch whiskies with cigars, but all the non-peated stuff, because you need to have something that is that works with your cigar, that maybe gives you a little sweetness to the cigar or some aromas that are not in the cigar. Yeah, and bourbon is a very good example for that.
But I love the idea of being able to try new things. Running on tap water would have never been my thing, but I mean, I've done it before on accident. I dropped in Lake Louisville Lake and grabbed it real quick and smoked it out there, but it doesn't taste really good. Trust me, it's not good.
That's aroma adding that.
What whiskey or Scotch do you recommend?
My first recommendation is always unpeated. My second recommendation is good stuff. It has to balance the cigar. You're probably smoking a good cigar, then you don't want to smoke a cheap whiskey that you normally have in your home to add to your Coke. So I can't give you any brand names because every whiskey brand and every cigar brand match or don't. So I would say just you need to try it out. I accidentally, when we were at PCA, we went to a liquor store before, and I said I need to grab a bottle of whiskey, of bourbon, just to give it out at the booth for hospitality. And I grabbed a bottle of bourbon, I think it was bourbon, that says aged in a rum barrel. I said, yeah, that could be good. And because this rum barrel adds a little sugary flavor into it, these aromas of the rum that work very well with cigars. And it was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. The bottle was gone after 2 days. And it was not just me. Him also.
I had to drive home.
Well, at least you're responsible.
Yep.
But to that same point, I don't drink a ton, but whenever I am, based off of Nathan, who is probably the more upsided pairing expert here, with German engineered, he'll tell people to pair with something that doesn't have the intensity because it's so clean. It's you'll have the rum site that's got the space spices, as we said before, but the bourbon spice that you might get off of something that might be a little bit too much of a bite. He said he never wants to take away from your guys' cigar. So I know that he enjoys Angel's Envy Rye, which traditionally rye is going to have some of that bite to it, but that one just tastes like maple syrup. It's very clean, but it's not artificial.
So the bottle we had, okay, I think I can name it. It was called Broken Barrel.
Broken Barrel?
Broken Barrel, and it was aged in a rum cask. So yeah, try it. But again, as you just said, it depends on the cigar. Raummzeit, which is a light to medium smoke that already has a lot of sweetness, might not go with it.
With pairings, you'll have contradictory pairings, something that's on two different sides of the spectrum, and then you'll have something that's complementary. So for me, I would stay as complementary to these cigars as possible, me personally.
Yeah.
I do find that pairing, I like wine, but pairing wine with a cigar is very hard. But these ones are very easy to point someone to if they're drinking a red, especially a white. Like if I'm drinking an Austrian Gruner It's just like apples, green apples, perfect.
New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc.
What he said. What do you know the actual wine itself, or just generally speaking?
No, generally speaking, sometimes, especially with the lighter cigars, we have a friend who's a master sommelier, and we did some interviews with him because he also likes cigars, and we were sitting together with him and trying to bring wine and cigars together, and we actually agreed wine and cigars is a very difficult pairing. There are some cigars that are especially made for wine, and these folks know exactly what they do because they have to be made for the wine. It's very difficult to bring them together because one taste overlays the others. But we said then spirits go well, and especially when you have a lighter cigar, a Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand sometimes work very well because they're extremely fruity. They have an extreme fruitiness and lots of aromas in them, so they can stand a lighter cigar. But I would simply try it and trust your palate. Just trust your palate. You are the one who wants to enjoy it. And if I tell you this goes together, it might not at all work for your personal palate. And I think this is very important. Just trust your palate. Go with what you like. Don't go with what they tell you. Don't go with what I tell you. Now drink this wine or this whiskey with this cigar. No, try it out yourself. Yeah. Find your own combinations.
For me, it's I'm more on the rum side, and gin doesn't fit so well. I always drink gin in the wintertime and rum in the summertime. Summer is for me beach and sailing. Wintertime it's more skiing, and I like the rums that have a little sweetness inside, like Mount Gay, not so sweet. And I like most Kuhlmann rum from Munich. It tastes a little like caramel and have not so much sweetness, and I pair it with the rum side. It's the rum side.
Rum side, nice. Nice. Well, one that, and my favorite drink on the planet's a Pisco Sour, but we kind of connected over that.
Peruvian.
Peruvian Pisco Sour. Chilean Pisco for you. You're whatever. But if no one's ever had it, I'm going to force them to put it in the fuselage next door. But I'll drink it straight by itself, but it tastes like a vodka had a baby with a gin, and then that baby had a baby with tequila. And it's super smooth, super clean, and then you mix it with, if you mix a Pisco Sour, it's lemon juice and egg whites beat together with some bitters. And it's just like a new twist on a classy margarita almost. But drinking it by itself is just, I sip it like I'd be sipping tequila, but it doesn't take away from any of these cigars by any means.
And so, your experiments are open. Try cocktails. Yeah. Try something that is sour, a whiskey sour, or try Negronis or maybe some sweet cocktails to a bolder cigar. Try it out. There are no limits. There is nobody telling you can't do this. I know people in Germany, they say, I drink Dr. Pepper with my cigars. It's hard to get in Germany. I always say, it's probably not mine, because there's this extreme sweetness would overwhelm my palate. But if they like it, it's great. Yeah, it's their way of indulging themselves, and this is what it's all about. It's your hour. We give you the cigars, we may give you some music, some experience. They give you a great environment, a great humidor, possibilities to indulge yourself in an hour or two, depending what you want. Go for it. Try it. Be open. Be open-minded. Be open-minded with new cigar brands. Be open-minded with the drink that you have. And if it's just a Coke, then it's just a Coke. It works for you. Then it's just a Coke. Then it works for you.
It's a very, very, very good point, because even in the family, there's diversity about what our favorites are to pair. Dad's is root beer, loves root beer with cigars. Brandon loves chocolate milk with cigars. I mean, It just depends on what mood I'm in.
Depends what in the chocolate.
I move all around all the time, but I mean, I love coffee with cigars. Nathan, spit. He just doesn't really care. He'll pair anything, honestly. But there's a lot of diversity between just the family, and you would think that we have a pretty similar palate, but don't let anyone tell you that you're wrong. It's your palate. Don't let someone influence you to smoke a cigar that they said is the best cigar ever. I think take it for what it is and try new things constantly, but don't let them skew your data. Don't let them skew your vantage point. You're going to like what you're going to like, and that's the way it should be.
Maybe one more point. When you really want to dive into the cigar itself, it's water, and get some coffee beans, put them into a small glass. So when you feel, okay, my palate is kind of overwhelmed right now, take it slowly and smell a little bit of the coffee beans. That helps cleaning the palate a little bit, cleaning especially your nose a little bit. Yeah. So that's what I do when I try blends. I try them pure because I need to try them pure. That is, interestingly, it's called work, although my wife doesn't say it's work. But it's just clear water, no carbonated water, nothing. Clear water, no tap water, because this has its own unique taste to it. Clear water, some coffee beans to smell at it, and there you go to get into the cigar. But then, when you know it, when you understand how you react to the cigar, how your palate reacts to the cigar, then you can start trying things with that cigar. Yeah, and it may be a good coffee, it may be a good espresso.
Yes.
And then on the other side of that, things that don't pair with cigars, just don't eat tomato sauce or tomatoes in general. The only thing that's worse than that, in my opinion, is like either mace or wasabi just stuck straight up your nose. Those are the three like worst things to have with a cigar. But again, it's up to you. Maybe AJ, maybe you'll love it. I don't know. But yeah, maybe a jalapeno will bring out the spice in the cigar, and you really, really like the spice. But
what would you recommend? Because I am more coffee drinker, espresso, things of that nature. What would be your cigar at the morning time with coffee? Blends that you have, which one would you want to go with first with that?
Again, depends a little bit on your palate and on the coffee you have. I would probably, the home side works extremely well with an espresso because it gives it the sweetness. And then again, if you like your coffee like I do, white with sugar, you might need to have a different cigar with that, like the RVGN, because that does not have any sugar. Yeah. So you need to try it out. And again, do you have a regular coffee? Is it bold? Is it more a medium blend coffee? Is it an espresso? Is it an Americano? You need to experiment with that. But I would normally, from a coffee perspective, I would say first try is espresso with home side. That works well.
yeah, I would say if you're not, do you drink Starbucks? Is that the coffee that you're? Okay, I was going to judge you a little bit. And that's, I mean, it's there, and coffee's a different world too, and we don't.
More espresso.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have an espresso maker, so
Yep.
obviously, sometimes a little cream, sometimes just straight black. So I always start with coffee beans that I chew and eat first.
Yep.
And then clear my palate up, and then it's like I want to taste the cigar first.
Yeah.
And then add the coffee to it afterwards.
That's
For
an
sure.
excellent way.
I think,
actually to
yeah, I
do
think
it, yeah.
starting with how you're doing it, starting with the cigar first, get the taste for it.
Repeat what he said because
Yeah.
not everybody heard it.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, because you're saying start with the cigar first, get the taste for it, and then you can go into the coffee, but you're using more espresso.
I eat espresso beans
Oh, you eat an
first.
espresso bean
I eat
first.
those first to kind of clear my palate, and then I'll, start with making espresso, and then it's like, okay, now I want to get a cigar, so I want to take it first.
Espresso bean, then cigar, then coffee.
Then coffee.
Interesting.
yeah.
That's yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. So I think that's a good idea. I am, I mean, I jump around depending on the type of cigar, and I use different coffee beans whenever I'm smoking cigars too. But the idea is like I'll go and change the format I'm drinking it in based off of the density of the cigar. So
Yep.
Like me in the middle is going to be an Americano, me on the bold side is going to be an espresso, and then just straight up coffee with the French press, light on the beans, will be a little bit more water for the lighter one. So that's how I play it, and it's more of just the density of the coffee that I'm getting. But the coffee I get's higher altitude. It's not going to be that Robusto bean that you get from Starbucks that's cooked way too hot and burnt and tastes bitter and all that kind of stuff. So for me, it's easier to do that. But if you're going to get Starbucks and pair it with your cigar, which sometimes you just don't have an option, and not to say it's the end of the world. Yeah, there's your option. Don't go to Starbucks. I get it. But you'll still be able to pick out certain notes and pull some stuff out of there. And I think, this I would hate to pair Starbucks with it personally, but the RBGN, I think it's because that's neutral, doesn't have the sugar. I think you can add some sugar to combat that little bit of bitterness that's in the coffee and the burnt coffee in Starbucks, and kind of use that as kind of a false filler a little bit. But you hate to cut corners and cheat a little bit, but it might be the only option.
Coffee or whiskey?
What's that one there?
RVGN?
Oh yeah.
Whiskey.
All of it. Put whiskey in your coffee.
Irish coffee.
Irish coffee, yeah, might be an idea.
You can do whatever you want, and then you tell me if it was good or not, and then that's how we learn.
Yeah.
That's great. Now, I think we're coming up to an end before we can get into another 4 hours of this. Let me ask if anyone's got any questions. Oh, there you are.
Yes, here I am. So, it's pretty obvious that there's a bit of a cultural difference between America/Texas and Germany. So, since you guys are busy professionals, you working in IT as well as making cigars, what either business or life advice do you think that we could benefit from seeing the German perspective?
Are you talking about the work-life balance?
Work-life balance, just what is some advice that you could give us that could benefit our lives by framing something that we see every day in a German mindset?
So giving us a different vantage point, seeing the work-life balance in Germany and how we could make our lives better as Americans. Okay.
I don't know.
They don't have balance, no.
Being Germans, we don't like to give advice to other people.
Yes.
We tried that, it didn't work.
Yes.
I think in a way it all comes down to balancing your work, your life, the pleasure that you find, the time you find to rest. It's not that we have a tremendous work-life balance always. Very often it's the opposite. I work for American companies, so they don't care whether I'm German, American, Indian, or whatever. Yeah. So the only hint that I can give is find time for a cigar. It's a priority thing. Set your priorities. That's my way of doing it. And it doesn't always work. The 3 weeks before we came here to Las Vegas to the trade show, they were so busy. I was doing work, he was doing his work, trying to serve our clients, all like last minute stuff, and please could you do this, could you do this? I know you leave in 2 weeks, could you do this before? I had time for 2 cigars in those 3 weeks because I don't want to smoke a cigar when I do something else. I want to be in a Zoom call smoking cigars. I want to use my cigars as a piece of tranquility, as shutting off the world, my work, shutting off all the other stuff and concentrate on the cigar, sit down, relax. And if I can't do this, I simply do not smoke a cigar. But when I then count the cigars after those 3 weeks, I say, you need to get your priorities straight. And that's probably the only thing, but this is nothing German. This is just the same here, and it's the same in any place of the world. So, yeah, maybe you are already more open-minded than we Germans are.
Yes.
But you are as clear telling us what works and what doesn't work with our cigars as the Germans are. You're as honest with that, and that's good. Yeah, and that's what combines us. And in the end, we had some great discussions with people in cigar lounges. We agreed to disagree on certain things, but it's still, you sit here, you talk, you agree, you disagree, you talk about maybe also about politics and how you do things, how we do things. We talk about the situation in Ukraine, how we could solve this together, how the US can help, how Europe should help. We are all like-minded in a way. We may not agree on the way to go there, how we should do this, but in the end, we all said it's cigars. If we disagree, then we agree to disagree, and it's just a great experience. And this is what it's all about, I think. Yeah. And that is I think this is a global view, and it should be and stay a global view. Because when I want to go smoke a cigar with somebody in Japan or in India or in Switzerland or here or in California or in New York or wherever, in Hamburg, in Stuttgart, there are differences between Hamburg and Stuttgart as well as in the US, between north and south and east and west. It's all about the cigar. That's it. Community and cigars. That's it.
I would agree. The cigar is the great equalizer.
Yeah.
It neutralizes everyone's bullshit, and it brings people together.
Yeah.
A lot of connection. I mean, we sat here and talked about that last night, where you go sit. Where do you go sit in a room with people that potentially have different views than you, and you actually sit there and listen? In a world, I mean, in our world, where people are divided politically and by their views in general, who their favorite rapper is, and everyone's got something to argue about. And in here, it doesn't exist, and I think it's great.
And when you smoke a cigar and talk with the people, you talk to the people and not about each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Or at the person.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, it's something that I wish the rest of the world that didn't smoke cigars could see, and that's what we strive to do. That's what what Evan's done such an amazing job communicating out. Brandon's done an amazing job communicating out, and we're just lucky when people come in here and we get the opportunity to spread that at least a little bit. And we need more people like you to help make a dent and spread that moving outwards, because we're here on our island trying to get people to come to our island, and you're out there fighting. So we appreciate that. We really do. Any more questions before we kind of wrap this thing up? Good. I think we said it all for the first time ever.
Sure. Yeah.
That's good. Well, that's great. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Our amazing partners, the German Engineered. You guys have been a big part of our growth here, and it's just nice to have someone that can open up our eyes and help us see it from a different scope. So thank you guys.
Thank you so very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, thank you, folks.
Remember to get your guys' panatellas up there and go buy some cigars before they're gone, and I'd take them and smoke them all. So.
Yeah, and if you have more questions during the evening, we'll be here, at least for some time. Just talk to us.
And look at the ashtray.
Yeah.
And look at the ashtray. Yeah.
But don't touch it.
Yeah, touch it when we are around.
Yeah. See what happens.
No, that works. That's fine. No, we're here to answer all your questions to answer the questions that you might not ask in the open, the smaller one. When it comes to cigars, there is no stupid questions. There might be some stupid answers from us, but we'll see. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
And